I got nothing but respect for Coach Harbaugh. I'm a big fan of Justin Herbert too. I think he's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. The opportunity was able to present itself. I definitely wouldn't be against it.
Things took a gigantic step back for the New York Giants this past year, and their latest decision will literally have New York Giants fans wanting to burn their jerseys. Now, I'm here to tell you why it all makes sense. Before we get to the content, make sure you drop like, subscribe, and turn on our notifications to help the channel grow. If you guys want to get shorter versions of this content, we upload exclusive onto Instagram, TikTok, and Snapchat. Now that we get all that out of the way, for the Super Bowl, PrizePicks is blessing us with an easy way to make $100. All Patrick Mahomes needs is one passing yard in the Super Bowl for a square to hit, which means he's pretty much a free square. First, download PrizePicks and use my promo code Mikerophone when you sign up to get up to $100 deposit match on your initial deposit, and then make these picks really quickly before they change the lines on them. So for me, I'm pairing Mahomes' free square with Isaiah Pacheco, who's had at least one touchdown in his last 5 games, so that's easy, and Christian McCaffrey, who has had more than 88.5 rushing yards in 4 of his last 5 games. Of course, I give away all my picks for free on Instagram, and I highly recommend you turn on notifications for my Instagram story so you can get the picks quickly before they move the lines and you lose your advantage. And thank you, PrizePicks, for the sponsor. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? Last year, the New York Giants were in a significantly different position than they were in this year. A team that was riding high off of the breakout season, sort of, for Daniel Jones, who just put together his best season to date. Over 3,000 yards passing, 15 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and in addition to adding 708 yards on the ground. New York Giants fans were convinced that if you got Daniel Jones the proper weapons, if you got him a solid wide receiver core, then the sky was the limit. And to be fair, the New York Giants went into the offseason with a plan in mind. They traded for Darren Waller, and they didn't really need to give up much to get him. They drafted Deonte Banks in the 2023 NFL draft and took a flyer on Jalen Hyatt. But what they did that really surprised a lot of fans was not commit to Saquon Barkley over the long term and decided to sign Daniel Jones to a 4-year, $160 million contract extension. At the time, this made him a top 10 paid QB and paid him as much as Dak Prescott was getting paid. I remember Giants fans memeing me saying, "He's better than Dak Prescott, Mike." So the Giants made their plans clear. They were planning on building around Daniel Jones, and that may or may not include Saquon Barkley. They essentially franchise tagged Saquon Barkley, although they renegotiated his contract and gave him incentives and such to sign him to a 1-year deal when the season started. They pulled his 3-year deal, and now there are questions about Saquon Barkley's future with the team. Now, I know this is going to sound crazy to Giants fans, but Saquon Barkley is coming off of his 6th season in the NFL. This pretty much makes him an old man whenever it comes to running back terms, and typically this is the point where you may see a running back change teams. New York Giants have already conveyed that they don't intend on committing to Saquon Barkley, and if they weren't willing to do it last year, they probably are never going to be willing to do it. Saquon's also coming off of a down year for himself, and whether you want to blame that on him or Daniel Jones or the offensive line is really up to you. The stats speak for itself. A 3.9 yards per carry, less than 1,000 yards rushing, and about 6 touchdowns. And on top of that, you have a brand new threat. Jim Harbaugh came out and said point blank that he wants Saquon Barkley.
He's really interested in Saquon Barkley, the running back. He doesn't believe in anything other than authentically his football DNA. He preaches physicality. Chargers are so overwhelmingly tied to Herbert throwing. So what does Harbaugh want to do? Get him a star back.
And believe it or not, Saquon Barkley actually directly flirted back with Jim Harbaugh.
I got nothing
You could be closer to me.
I got nothing but respect for Coach Harbaugh. Obviously, the success he had in the NFL before. I'm a big fan of Justin Herbert too. I think he's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. The opportunity was able to present itself. I definitely wouldn't be against it.
By the way, Up and Adams, amazing show. Such incredible content with these stars. Shout out to Kay Adams for doing her thing. So in my opinion, with respect to the New York Giants, I would be shocked if Saquon Barkley returns to New York. And it's nothing against the Giants organization. It's just you take a look at what Jim Harbaugh has done historically with his running backs. I mean, more or less, I guess primarily Frank Gore when he was on the San Francisco 49ers. And I would be salivating if I was Saquon Barkley, going from the rebuilding New York Giants to the Los Angeles Chargers, whose roster is one of the best in the league but has been consistently overachieving. And if Jim Harbaugh comes up to me and says,
hey, we're going to give you a 1-year prove-it deal for something like $8 million,
and I get to play in sunny Los Angeles and be the focal point of the Los Angeles Chargers offense, you bet I'm going to leave. Because the New York Giants' new plan is, well, more of the same. And as they say, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result. A lot of people were speculating that since the Giants have a very high draft pick this year, that this will be the year that they move on from Daniel Jones. They have the 6th overall pick in the 2024 NFL draft. It's been 6 years already. There's no way they're going back to Daniel Jones. But alas, it seems like there's a chance that they're going back to Daniel Jones. According to Jordan Schultz, who has been a remarkable source for us lately, shout out to the Schultz Report, there seems to be a good amount of momentum for Daniel Jones to be the starter next year. I can tell you that the Giants still believe in Daniel Jones. Players still do. There's a lot of guys in that locker room that believe Daniel Jones is and should be the guy moving forward. The Giants are not ready to shut the door on him. What I've been told is that not only does the staff and Brian Dable believe in Daniel Jones, but Mike Kafka and the players do as well. I feel like if we all sit down and pray and be good to everybody in our lives and really work our off and work diligently on our character, that maybe one day we will all be lucky to find a lady in our life that will commit to us no matter how terrible we are, as much as the Giants have been committing to Daniel Jones. But jokes aside, Giants fans might be saying,
that's it, Mike! I'm a Chiefs fan! I'm done supporting this team!
Believe it or not, there is a reason why the Giants are doing this. At this point, if you have been following my content for quite some time, you'll notice a theme in my content, and that's the fact that I don't believe in going out and getting a brand new quarterback until you do your best to build around the existing quarterback or make sure there are some good pieces in place. If we've learned anything from Bryce Young, it's that a #1 overall pick at QB that used to be a Heisman Trophy winner cannot do anything for you if he has wide receivers that are past their prime playing for them. If he doesn't have wide receivers that can separate, an offensive line that could buy him time to create plays, and a head coach that is calling predictable plays over and over again. And while I could understand New York Giants fans being frustrated that they're about to go into year 6 with Daniel Jones, also have to understand that Daniel Jones is on a really good contract. He's the 12th highest paid QB in the NFL. The upside of Daniel Jones fulfilling his potential on the contract that he's on is good enough to win you guys a Super Bowl. I know it sounds insane to say, but bear in mind, this is coming from a Cowboy fan. Now, do I think the New York Giants are going to win the Super Bowl? It depends how the offseason goes, but most definitely not. I mean, I expect this team to take a huge step back this year. You're about to lose one of your best offensive players, but you're also about to add a really good offensive player in the NFL draft with the 6th overall pick. I mean, with 6th overall, I have the New York Giants taking Malik Neighbors and finally getting Daniel Jones some wide receiver help. And I know this sounds crazy because just a few months ago, you literally saw Brian Dable throwing iPads around and asking Daniel Jones if he's trying to get him fired on purpose. No, seriously, look at this man's lips. He is quite literally asking Daniel Jones if he's trying to get him fired on purpose. But I think Brian Dable is the right man for the job. I think for the time being, at worst in Daniel Jones, you have a great bridge quarterback, and there's nothing wrong with that. I feel like you stand pat, you draft Malik Neighbors at number 6 overall, or maybe you get lucky and are able to trade up for Marvin Harrison Jr., or maybe you draft Rome Odunze. It doesn't matter, honestly. Any wide receiver, any of those 3 wide receivers would work in this position. And then if it doesn't work, then next year you could hit the NFL draft and select a brand new quarterback. You already have Daniel Jones under contract. I could understand the frustration because there were certain points where Daniel Jones just looked terrible out there, especially through the 6 games that he was active this season. But let me know in the comment section down below, what do you guys think about all this? Especially if you're a Giants fan, are you frustrated that it's looking like Saquon Barkley's about to leave? Are you mad that they're committing to Daniel Jones for yet another year? I'd like to hear what you have to say. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike. I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.